Hello, everyone. This is K Green 829, and welcome to not the AAC Wrap-Up Show, a special edition of Inside Tulane. Um, this is going to be, just a quick thing so that we can recap our season to this point. We're at the halfway mark, and I'm done with the act. I've recorded this already, and I had 33 minutes of recording. I forgot to close F1 Manager, and that absolutely ruined the audio. It made my computer way too slow, just that with that running in the background, and it made the audio unlistenable. So here I am again. This is going to be fun. I'm going to be saying a lot of the same things again, but for you, it's the first time. So let's get right into this, and we'll be talking about the schedule for. We'll be talking about the schedule first. First up, we had a 2 week bye to start the season, so we didn't start our season until week two. But our season got tough after that because we had to play all of our games in a row, with the only break being a week 8 bye week. So we're on our bye week this week. We're finally getting some rest, but things don't look easier from us out of our bye week, and we will get to that. First up, we had um, for a while, Tulane only played at home, and that's evident in their first three games, where they played at home against Ole Miss, at home against North Texas, and at home against Memphis. But in week 5, they played their first road game, traveling all the way down to South Bend to play Indiana. And the road trip started from there. After that, we took a short trip over to Annapolis to play Navy, and then a trip over to Oklahoma to play Tulsa. Um, Now we are going. We have our week 8 bye, and we have our next game, which will be back at home against UCF. It'll be good to be back home. Road games are always hard. They're always tough. So it'll be nice to be back home against a team that I think is still pretty good. So it'll be a tough challenge, but we'll be helped out by the fact that we're at home. Speaking of that game, that's against UCF. I have them as a number 3 team in the conference, but other people have them as number 4. Regardless, they are a very powerful team and they're very scary. Next up, we have Houston, who is a very sneaky, scary team. They don't have many wins, but their wins were big ones. They took down powerhouse Texas A&M, who was ranked 6th at the time, and took out one of the top AAC teams. So despite only having 2 wins, they have a lot of talent, and they, if you're not careful, they can take a game from you. Next up, we have Temple, another good AAC team. USF, another good AAC team. Cincinnati, a fourth, a fifth in a row, a fifth good AAC team. And we wrap it up against Air Force, which is usually, this is the second season. The Air Force game is supposed to be, the symbolic end of the regular season where I go up against my brother, J Green 816. However, J Green 816 is missing in action and has not appeared in the sim for a very long time. Uh, Part of this is because he got a girlfriend. Part of this is for who knows why. I have no clue. But so it'll be a meaningless game against Air Force that doesn't entertain me that much. But moving on, I'm putting all these games up there here, and that they mean nothing to you. All that matters is the scores. And let's start off with a 35-7 win against Ole Miss. We started our season off strong, and with our starting quarterback Bronson Worrell throwing 70 pass attempts for 495 yards. He shocked the world by, just the sheer amount of passes. And we had something that we're still looking to find, but very little luck. We had a great rushing performance with starting running back Alexi Patterson with on only 8 attempts, 100 yards and a touchdown, and fifth string wide receiver who was used in the run game a little bit, Marcel Williams, who on 6 attempts had 43 yards and a touchdown. Great game on the running back by the running backs, but it's not something that don't get used to it. They have disappointed from that. Fernando Thomas is our top wide receiver, and he was targeted 22 times in this game. Unfortunately, he only caught the ball 8 times, but he made the most out of those 8 times with 177 yards on those 8 catches. That's averaging 22.12 yards per catch and picking up a touchdown. Next up, we had Travion Love, who had 24 targets and 16 catches. Those 16 catches were good for 195 yards, which is 12.19 yards per catch, and a touchdown. And last up, we had the only other person to score a receiving touchdown for Tulane, wide receiver 3, Devontae Pena. 9 targets, 9 catches, 39 yards, 4.33 yards per catch, and a touchdown. Moving on, Marvin Norris got oh, never mind. Sorry, I misread something. Going up next, we have our big game against UNT. Um, so the Ole Miss game is coached. Their coach is what's his name? Hold on, let me grab this. Uh, slap your sorry at Coach Slap Your Basil. Ole Miss coach. So that was a fun game. And the North Texas game, I did schedule against a coach. That was Coach Anonymous, but I'm not really sure what happened with him. He hasn't shown up in a while, so I'm assuming that was an AI that I faced. And we beat them 40-21. It was a good game for us. We toned back on the passing a little bit, only throwing 40 the ball 45 times, but still putting up great numbers. Only had because despite throwing the ball 25 times less, we put up 10 less yards, the same amount of touchdowns, and one less interception, which left us with no interceptions on the week, which was huge. Struggled running the ball, but Fernando Thomas started to find his stride. On his 16 targets, he made 13 catches for 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travion Love also showing off 15 targets, 11 catches for 173 yards and a touchdown. So that was a big game for us. Our top 2 receivers really showed their stuff and showed why, them along with Bronson Morrow are the heart and soul and everything that keeps this team going. Next up, we have a 20-16 win against Memphis. I tried to go more on the ground for this game because their secondary scared me, but it almost cost me the game. Our offense completely stagnated. We still had a pretty good game with 353 passing yards, but it just wasn't up to where we usually are. We're usually winning games with our dominant offense. You take that out of the equation, you get a game like we had against Memphis. It's a very close game, and a game where we almost lose. If it were not for Alexi Patterson scoring a rushing touchdown from 6 yards out with 5 minutes left, we would have lost the game. Of course, that was all set up by a huge pass from Bronson Morrow to wide receiver Fernando Thomas. And that was Bronson Morrow going 58 yards deep, finding his top wide receiver target, Fernando Thomas. And that play set up the score, and it directly led to the win. Now we have our first away game. We went to South Bend, and we also have our first loss. 29-20 loss against a very good Indiana team. They are currently 4-3, but don't let their record persuade you about their season. They've played a lot of tough teams. They're a really great team. Their starting quarterback Aaron Glassett went off. He had himself a game, 362 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and was untouched. Just could not be sacked or brought down. Also had 25 yards on the ground on 6 attempts. So it was a great game by Gossett. A lot of respect for Indiana. I'm not gonna lie, I underestimated them a little going into that game, and they made me pay. So whenever you can do that, you're gonna earn my respect. Next up, we had Navy, and this was a bit of a bounce back game as we took it to Annapolis for a 23-3 beating. Uh, you know, Going back to the past and trying to get back to what worked for us. We still couldn't fully get it. Morrow only had 360 yards with 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, but Travion Love Fernando Thomas did his thing. Of the 29 completions and 360 yards that our quarterback had, and 1 touchdown that our quarterback had, 13 of those completions were to Fernando Thomas. Of the 360 yards, 286 of those were to Fernando Thomas, and the 1 touchdown, of course, went to Fernando Thomas. Fernando Thomas had a great game. only dropping 2 balls. And that's a 22 yards per catch. That even, just even. So, a great game from him. And then we had the Tulsa game. And this is where we found ourselves again. Bronson Morrow with 512 yards and 3 touchdowns, and we come away with a 30-17 win. Uh, do not let the score fool you. I won by 2 touchdowns, but it was very close going into the third quarter. It was actually a Tulsa lead. They were up 17 to they were up seven. They had 17 points. We had hold on, and we had 16. They had a 1 point lead. But they just couldn't get anything going. We got a touchdown, and then late in the game, with about 6 minutes left, our second touchdown of the quarter sealed it. It was a very tough game. They moved to 1-5 after that. They've been having a rough season, but I feel like that is a very strong game from Tulsa and a very promising game for them. So, uh, you know, that's what I have to think about that. Sorry about that. That's my noise cancellation because my mic isn't really good. I have to use a noise cancellation thing, which means I need to wrap this up in 10 minutes, or else I run out of time for the day. So, moving on, we have UC. We're going to go through this quickly. We have a home game against UCF. We're going to get back home and play a pretty good team in the division. But like I said, the schedule gets tough. We play Houston, who only has 2 wins, but one of them is against number 6 ranked TAMU and one of the top teams in the AAC, in Temple. It was a huge game for Houston. Shows up in those big games, and as we are currently leading the AAC, that is going to be a big game. They're a scary team. Next up, we have Temple, who is also a scary team. There's too much to get into about why Temple and USF are scary teams. And Cincinnati's also a scary team. They started out the season off 3-0, but since then, and since switching to conference play, their coach stopped updating game plans, and they have yet to win a game. Next up, we have Air Force, and that's supposed to be a symbolic game where I go up against my brother, Coach J Green 816, instead of K Green 829. Unfortunately, my brother has been MIA from the sim. He got a girlfriend, along with some other stuff that I'm not really sure about. He just hasn't been here this season. I think he's planning to come back next season, though, so we'll see. So until then, that is a meaningless game that means nothing to me, and we're going to skip past it. Let's get to our stats. We're moving through this fast because we have to. And I forgot to preload the stats page, so now we get to wait. You're gonna wait with me for it to load. In the meantime, how are you doing? It's 10 o'clock right now, so a little bit past dinner for me, at least because time zones. But what did you guys have for dinner? Anything good? Oh, that sounds disgusting. Oh wow, yeah, I would hate to do that. Oh, your wife made it for you? Oh, that sounds terrible. Your wife can't cook? Oh. Um, I just want to clarify that's a joke. I'm assuming you all would know, but we can never be too safe. Um, um, okay, it's loaded. Okay, getting to it. We get to this team, and this is a team that's dominant. 148 points, 77 points allowed. 3,096 total yards of offense, only allowing 2,112. It's 2,408 passing yards, with only allowing 1,540 passing yards, 688 rushing yards, only allowing 572 rushing yards. We have moving over to the offensive side, in particular, not getting over to the players just yet. That's 148 points for the offense, like I said. That's 148 points for the offense, 3,096 yards for the offense, and only that's stuff we know. But let's break things down a little bit more. 2,408 passing yards, 13 passing touchdowns. Only having 3 interceptions and being sacked 14 times in our 6 games. Then 688 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. Now we're moving on to the defense. This is a defense, so allowed 77 points. The total yards, allowed 1,540 passing yards and 572 rushing yards. We've got 9 turnovers, 35 tackles for loss, 16 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 4 recovered fumbles, which I don't get. How recovered is uh, bigger than forced. Whatever. Uh, 5 interceptions, 2 safeties, and 1 defensive tackle. When we get to the player stats, not all interceptions are recorded correctly. So if somebody has multiple interceptions, which I think they do, ignore that because I figured that out like 2 seconds ago, and uh, I don't want to record this a third time. So we're just gonna go with what I have and know what's right. Next up, we're getting to the offense, the best part, because it's got my 3 favorite players. First up, we have Tulane quarterback Bronson Morrow. Like I said, 2,480, 408 passing yards for him. He's got a 55% completion percentage and averages 401.33 yards, passing yards per game. 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 133.61. This guy is a monster. And remember when I was talking about that 58-yard bomb to Fernando Thomas that set up the game-winning touchdown against Memphis? That was actually his longest pass of the season. So talk about performing in big moments. He pulled out his best stuff when it mattered the most, and he got the team a win. Next up, we're going to be going over to the running game. We'll talk more about the running back situation, but there's a couple guys you have to know. So, Alexi Patterson started off as the starter, 271 rushing yards on 65 attempts with 4 touchdowns. Hector Lee, who is also a senior as well as Patterson, also has gotten some touches with 210 rushing yards in 48 attempts. Then fifth string receiver Marcel Williams on 17 attempts has 106 rushing yards, and backup quarterback turned running back Lodi Thomas on 17 rushing attempts has 72 rushing yards and a touchdown. Marcel Williams also has a touchdown. I already forgot if I mentioned that. I'm going too fast. But again, like I said, I don't have much time, too much more time of free talking. So free noise suppression. So, and I'm not paying for this, so we're just gonna keep moving. Next up, we have our wide receivers. I might be getting a little bit faster, so I'm sorry if it gets hard to understand. I'm pretty sure you can slow down the video. But Fernando Thomas starts it off 64 catches on 105 targets, 1,312 receiving yards. That's an average of 20.5 yards every time he catches the football. He's got 8 touchdowns, and his longest reception is 58 yards. Next up is wide receiver 2, Travion Love. 85 targets, 50 catches, 668 receiving yards for an average of 13.36 every time he catches the ball with 4 receiving touchdowns. His longest reception being 51 yards. Then Devontae Pena, 35 targets, 19 catches, 175 yards. That's 9.21 average every time he catches the ball with 1 receiving touchdown. Longest reception for him was 43 yards. And wide receiver number 4, Deshaun Knight, 13 targets, 5 catches, 73 receiving yards. That's 14.6 average for, and that's his longest reception being 40 yards. Also, just to point out, tight end Robinson Rios, 13 targets, 4 catches for 32 yards. Or sorry. Wide receiver, fifth string wide receiver Marcel Williams, who 1 target, 1 catch for 22 yards, and we're just pointing him out because he's got the highest receiving average on the team with 22. Guess what? His longest reception was 22 yards. That was also his only reception. That's pretty cool. Now let's get to the defense. And we're looking at he's not really the guy. I figured this out. He's not really the guy, but we're going with it. Our interception leader, defensive tackle Tyler Rader. Big boy defensive tackle. I know the pictures of an offensive lineman. I couldn't find a picture of a defensive tackle, so bear with me. And he's got 16.5 tackles and 3.5 sacks. He's recovered a fumble. So, big player for this team, big man. He's done a lot, so I had to highlight him. Next up, we have Khaled Bull, graduating inside linebacker with 38 tackles, 9 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. He is the leading tackler, so I had to highlight him on this defense. And last up, we have Marvin Norris, our strong safety, 28.5 tackles, at least 2 interceptions, and our only defensive touchdown. So, I had to highlight him. That's just all I got to say about the defense. Next up, though, I uh, uh, I don't know what this is. I'm sorry. Um, I guess this is like some kind of art project that some kid did. Right. Apparently, it's not an art project. Well, I guess it's just a joke. I mean, nobody would want to harm Adam Edwards, no matter how terrible he is at doing his one job. No one would want to hurt him. Apparently, it's not a joke. They will kill him. Well, whoever did this is a sick, twisted man, and he has. I have no respect for him. We're moving on. Okay. Let's get to the storylines. There's been some interesting storylines that's happened here. Some things that I've kind of moved away from, and some things that are kind of still going on. Some of these are things that I haven't written as media, but have just been a product of what's happened during the games. First off, we have me. That's me. I'm the coach of Tulane, and I am completely and mentally unhinged. From threatening to chop off wide receivers' fingers for dropping balls to breaking into our starting quarterback's dorm rooms because he was up at 3 a.m. tweeting before our first game. The noise suppression just died, so if the audio gets weird, I'm really sorry. There's nothing I can do about it. I really don't want to record this a third time. So I'm going to slow down a bit, breathe, because I can take my time now. Starting quarterback Bronson Morrow was up at 3 a.m. tweeting before our first game of the season, and coach saw this, so he technically broke into the dorm room, which I see as something sweet because once he got in there, he tucked in Bronson Morrow, starting quarterback. He tucked him in, read him a little bedtime story, got him some warm milk and cookies, and gave him a little kiss on the head and said, "You're going to do great, superstar," and then snuck out the window after he fell asleep. I think that's something that just shows he's devoted to winning and he's devoted to helping his players out. So, I don't get why people would think that he's this insane person. I don't get why people would think I'm this insane person, or why they would think that I tried to kill kicker Adam Edwards, pictured here. Kicker Adam Edwards, pictured here, who was a victim of attempted murder. You can't prove it was me, though. There's no proof it was me. I left nothing there. I mean, the person who did it left nothing there. So you can't prove it was me. Next up, just have to highlight the top two receivers who've just been, taking the league by storm. These two have just been so dominant together. I just had to point them out real quick, even though it's not really a storyline. Next up, we have the four-headed running back situation, which could be looked at as five-headed. Because I'm thinking of adding a fifth head to it, because why not? It hasn't worked to my liking yet. That's Alexi Patterson, who started the season off as the starting back. And Marcel Williams was getting some touches as the substitute running back, just because he's a really fast wide receiver. Neither of them really worked out too much. So we switched to Hector Lee starting for a little bit, and he put up some okay numbers, but still nothing that I was overly impressed with. So we took backup quarterback Haloti Thomas, and we put him at running back, and he started doing okay, but nothing I was too impressed with. Changing up some run schemes, but if things don't work soon, fifth head of this run game will be fullback Amari Dean, who has elite strength, and while he does not have the speed to do anything once he reaches the second level, will be able to gain a consistent amount of yards each time he touches the ball, which is all I really want from this from my running back. I want them to be able to consistently put up some decent yards. Next up, we have probably the biggest story of Tulane, because nothing else can ever top this, like attempted murder. But that's Fernando Thomas, and that was the week after his team was ranked for the first time. He took to Twitter to air out his thoughts, and it turns out he was not happy with where the AP poll put him. So he made some angry tweets. I won't get into them because he said some very nasty, disrespectful things. But it's just, he wrote some things, and he was almost suspended for it. It came down to a vote that was, and the tiebreaker of the vote voted that he would not be suspended for their week sixth game against Navy, which he, of course, was a huge part of, with 15 targets, 13 catches, 286 yards, and a touchdown, the only passing touchdown, and actually the only touchdown of the game, or only offensive touchdown, I think. I think there may have been a defensive touchdown, but he had to write an apology letter, and he had to write a strongly worded essay on why being mean was mean. That was punishments that were chosen by the community, so that was out of my hands. Next up, we have my favorite story, and that is my two favorite players on this team. In the Heisman Watch, there's a Heisman list, and there's a whole formula that I'm not smart enough to really know, or they don't trust me with it, but it was written by Tuscan Soda, and he's got a little ranking on the stats page. So, and we got some Tulane players up there. We got quarterback Bronson Morrill at 19th with a score of 54.69. The highest score is 86.46. I don't know what it's out of. I don't know what the maximum is. I would assume 100, but I'm not sure. And then at 10th, we have wide receiver Fernando Thomas, possession wide receiver with a score of 59.95. So that's it for the storylines. Next up, we have recruiting, and you probably want me to explain this picture. I made a edit for Recruit God on the Discord and on the Sim site, and I recently remembered my first draft, which was this. And this is the only blank recruiting thing I had for Tulane. So here it is. You get to look at it. I'm gonna leave it on screen for a little bit so you guys can bask in the glory that is the horrors and of just how I destroyed this iconic, historic painting with Tulane recruiting propaganda. Alright, we done? We good? Alright, now we're going to move on to Tulane recruiting. And let's talk about some targets that haven't committed first. This is going to stay on the screen, so you better enjoy it. We have the only recruit that we're going after that we're in a battle for, 5-star receiver Jeffrey Bethillier. We're in a tight battle with Maryland. He's a B overall, C potential. It's it's coming down to the wire. We're both really high on him, and we both are going after this guy. So it's going to be fun when he finally commits. If Coach Rob's son, Coach of Maryland, is listening, I enjoy recruiting battles, so I'm having fun with this. I'm having fun with that recruiting battle. Wish you the best of luck, whenever he starts playing, I'm definitely going to have to schedule an out-of-conference game against you. Next up, we have a cornerback pairing. Oscar Reiser, 4-star, B overall, B- potential, and cornerback David Levine, 4-star, B overall, B+ potential. Those are two guys, we have some really talented quarterbacks leaving this season, so we had to, replace them. And I found two guys that, nobody else has really looked into that I'm going after, and I really like them. Next up, we have Emmanuel Hernandez, another wide receiver. He is the brother of he was the estranged, separated at birth because of divorce, brother of of someone who's already committed to Tulane. He's a 4-star, C overall, B- potential. I'm not going to lie. I need receiver, but I was more going after this guy just because he has the same last name as another guy I really wanted, and the potential for media for two guys with the last name is just too great to pass up. That's all the people I want to talk about that I'm going after right now, because the other people are people that I haven't really pushed too hard on, and if I tip my hand too early to them, I could lose them. So I am not going to say anything about that. Now let's get to who's recruited. I'm going to need a big drink of water after this. My throat's getting dry. But we have two commits. That is William Henry, 4-star receiver. Like I said, I need receivers. My top 3 receivers are all upperclassmen, so I'm trying to revitalize this recruiting class. This receiving room, because this air raid offense has worked really well for me, and I've seen nothing to tell me that I should move away from it. So the air raid is here to stay in Tulane. Next up, we have William Henry, 4-star, C overall, A potential. Next up, we have Jose Hernandez, outside linebacker, 5-star, B overall, C minus potential. This guy was a huge, he was a huge target for me, and I went head to head with someone else, UTST, and I'm not actually 100% sure the coach, off the top of my head, because their Discord, they don't have their team in their Discord username. But I remember, we joked about it. He has every right to hate me. He had 52% odds for him. I had 48, and I got the steal. I'm really happy about that commitment, though, because I'm going to be pairing him up with my best recruit from last year, and that is actually inside linebacker, Kevin Robles. He's a B overall with C minus potential. I decided to redshirt him this year because I had 3 good inside linebackers. So I decided to redshirt him and let him develop. And if you go and look at my linebackers, I'm building a really strong linebacking room, and it's a position I take a lot of pride in because I was able to get. I mean, my only 2 stars that I've ever gotten until I 100% get the commit from Jeffrey Bethelier, because why would you want to go to a stinky school like Maryland? The only 5 stars I've gotten have been at the linebacker position. 1 outside linebacker, which was Hernandez, and 1 inside linebacker, which was last year's 5-star commitment in Kevin Robles. So it's a position that is close to my heart. I really like building that one up. And that's all I actually have. We hit 33 minutes, so it is 10:18. We could probably go down and get some water. Some other quick things before I wrap this up. There is not going to be a media written version of Inside Tulane because I had so much stuff, it was just easier to record it instead of writing it down. So this is taking place. Also, I was on the bye week, so there's nothing else to talk about. I will also be releasing after recruiting is done, which there may be a delay. And I say for, if there has to be a delay, or even if he can get it done without much of a delay, take your time to release it. I feel like everyone's very understanding about this. We can wait, a couple, till the next morning, to get that done. So, take your time with that. I won't mind. But when that's through, I will be recording my weekly AAC wrap-up show, and we will be back to regular written articles about Tulane until the end of the season, when I do my end of season Tulane wrap up, which I just decided I'm going to do. So now and I said it here so that I'm forced to do it and I can't weasel out, because that happens sometimes where I want to do something and then I just decide not to. Now that I said it on recording, I have to do it. So that's just something to make sure I do it. But yeah, that's all I've got. So I'll see you for the AAC wrap-up show. And also, just heads up, a lot of other great wrap-up shows. There's the CFB wrap-up show that Tuscan Soda does, and the SSEC weekly show that Ezico does that are really great. I listen to those while I'm putting things together for my show, or just while I'm off doing random stuff. So great, they make great content too. So make sure to, if you haven't watched those, make sure to give those a watch. Great content. So yeah, that's all I have. 35 minutes in. Can't wait for Tulane season to start back up. I'm ready to finish the season off because I feel like I'm in a good place right now. All right, that's all I got. Bye.